Welcome back. My name is Benjamin Lannon, and I wanted to go through today a walkthrough of a portion of my ESM Checker site that I've been building over the past few months. So, for those who are unaware, in the JavaScript ecosystem, there is a new module system called ES modules, which allows you to write modules that can be ingested in Node.js, but as well in other JavaScript runtimes, including their browsers. So we can write packages that can be consumed by any of these things without a need to rely on tools like Webpack or other bundlers. So with this, I've been keeping track of about 2,000 popular NPM packages and seen as day over day how quickly they've been migrating. And on the front of this page, you can just see the various stats of three main key points I've been kind of just watching, where it's exports require, exports no require, and type module, which going down to the legend, I have some explanations of those, where when you are setting up an ES module, you can specify that a package could be completely ESM by setting the type field in your package JSON to module. So if I actually open up this tab I have here for a package called ES module Lexer, if you scroll down, you can see that they have type module here. So that means every single file by default will be treated as an ES module. Continuing on, exports require means they have an exports field, which defines what files and how they are exported and consumed by other clients. So previously in CommonJS, when you said require, say, ES module Lexer, for example, it would go try and find a file that is like the main entry point. Exports now allows you to do that either for the entire package or on a file by file basis. And exports require is a stat I've been tracking where it says that it has a require field within that allows you to load in that module as CommonJS. So even if you haven't upgraded yet or you aren't able to upgrade, there's a CommonJS fallback. So back to this. In the exports field, you can see that there is this require, and this is saying that there is in a distribution folder, there is a lexer.cgs that is CommonJS. So this means I can be able to say require ES module Lexer in a CommonJS file, and it will be able to pick up this file. And lastly, we have exports no require. Now, this is the opposite where it says there is an exports field, but it doesn't have a require field. Now, that means it doesn't have a CommonJS fallback, but that may not mean that it is only ES module, because there's multiple ways that you can use the exports field across this. So alongside this main page, I also had a package listing page, which I can have if I wanted to. This page kind of just shows it at aggregate, but maybe I want to look at a particular package. So if I went in here and we saw all these various packages, I can go to one of these pages and I can go look at the isPlaneObject page. And this would talk about the isPlaneObject package. Now you can see that here it says type module is true and exports no require is true. So if we actually dive in, look at this package and then go dive into the file, you can go into the package.json and we can see that its type module and exports is index.js. This means it's only specifying when you try loading this in, load this ES module. And that means it only can be loaded in as an ES module. Now, the thing that I was thinking about this site is we have 2,000 links and 2,000 pages that we're using here. And I've been building this website using Eleventy, which is a static site renderer. Now, I didn't really want to build every single one of these pages every single time I build the website, which is done on a daily basis. So if I did that, I would be building about 2,000 pages every single day, which may not need to be computed if I dive in and if I go back to the homepage and see that the graphs are fairly flat for the most part. There's not a exorbitant amount of change day to day. So with that, I looked into a feature of Netlify called on-demand builders. What it is rather than having a system of being only static site generation where you build pages at the beginning, or only serverless/server only where you, for every single route, you're building that page every single time. This builds a function that's in between the two, where it will, the first time someone requests this page, it will go build that page, but then it will cache it. So any further request, it will actually be cached on a edge CDN. So then it doesn't need to be continuously built, and will reduce on that time. With that as well, Eleventy as of 1.0 created a new feature called Eleventy Serverless, which actually implements the things where you can either build a page on every single time someone goes to a certain route, or you can use the on-demand builders and be able to render it once and then cache it for later. So let's go look how I did this in my project. So if we go over the code, we can first start out with the eleventy.js config file. And at the bottom of it, the way you actually implement Eleventy Serverless is you pull in the Eleventy package, and it is a plugin that will be able to, it will generate some code for you, and then you can set up a particular route that you want to do using some other files. So within here, we have eleventy.config.add plugin, and we are saying we want to create an instance of the serverless bundler plugin. We want to give it a name, so we're going to say packages. This is going to be like our our data type that we're working with. We want to say where the functions, where we want to say where the serverless function is, so it's going to be in Netlify Functions, and we want to say how do we want to handle redirects. And because this is on-demand builders, we're going to say Netlify TOML builders. And what this does is going to be seen when we dive into the actual template. So first, if we look at the template, if we scroll to the top, we can see that the way you manage Eleventy Serverless is you use this permalink field in your front matter. And we're going to say anytime someone routes to a page that has /packages/ and then a name of a package, it will go and it will look for that handler, and it will build the page out accordingly. So because of this, if you see this packages/package, if we go over to the Netlify TOML, we can now see that we have also that packages/package for redirect. So anytime we see this, it will then redirect Netlify to say, actually go change the route we want to load to .netlify/builders/packages. And this is actually the packages function that we have here in my Netlify functions folder. So if we open this up, all of this is all generated for you from Eleventy Serverless by default. So it comes in, it pulls it in, it creates a new instance of Eleventy Serverless, it pulls in the path, it pulls in if there's any query string parameters, which at this current moment there isn't, and then it says where's the functions directory. And then we go through, we say get output on that function, and it will actually go generate the page for us. And then from there, just return a serverless response. So we're saying we're going to return HTTP code of 200. We're going to say the content type in the headers is going to be text HTML. And the body of this response is going to be page.content. It's going to be our actual page. And then the end of this file, we have this section where we have two choices for using exports.handler. We can either just say we return that handler by default, and then that will treat this function just a regular serverless function. It will, anytime we hit this route, it will always run that function and generate the new page for us. But in our particular case, we want to demand it, we want to do it only on the first request. So we pull in the Netlify Functions npm package, and there is a builder function that we can actually grab out of that package and wrap our handler in. So now anytime that Netlify sees this, it will say, okay, I will only build this page once, and then we can cache it for later times it is requested. Coming back into the package, we can see we have just a template, and we're using this Eleventy Serverless.path.package here to just fill in some templating. But as well, we have all like the meat of our actual thing where we want to present. If we go back to a package and we go to is plain object again, we want to present the various fields for this particular package. What are the values for these fields? And if there's any audits. So this can be done by using the package.eleventydata.js format, where you can actually compute data while the page is being built. So in here, all of my data is actually stored in DynamoDB in a few various tables. So I'm just setting up the various DynamoDB SDK to be able to run some queries against Dynamo. And then within the module exports, we have this Dynamo data, which does the main amount of effort. So we want to first go through and we want to say data.eleventy. We want to pull out the package, throw it into a variable. And if there isn't that package for any particular reason, we want to just say return an empty object. And then we continue through. We run two queries. Run a query against the package table, which gives us some of those the main statistics, as well as the audit table, which gives us any time a package changes. So if they start using type module, we would see it here. We run those two queries, and then we create a result object, and we just spread all the contents of the package table response out, as well as the audits, the array of audits, and the length of the array audits. So when we come back to our package.html, we can see that in our table for the package, we can throw in dynamo.data.type module, exports no require, and exports require, and be able to render that out. And then as well, if the length of the audit table was greater than 0, then we know we have at least one audit that we can render. So we go through here, we set up the table again, and we create a for loop, and we just create a new row for each change. So we say when it happened and what happened. But otherwise, if there isn't any, then we put a paragraph tag that says there are currently no recorded audits at the time for this package. And lastly, we also have a built-on date, so I can actually see when this page was built. So if I go back to our website, we can see this was built at about 1600 UTC. Now, if I go back up to my package listing and scroll down to, say, like one of these things like types node, you can see it took a couple seconds to build that page, but we can see that it was now built as of 1606, which was just now. And if we refresh this page, the page isn't really doing anything because it's pulling that cached data. And now all these pages now can be built on demand without needing to pre-build every single thing beforehand. So that's going to be it for today. If you are curious about any of the technologies I discussed today, or the websites here, I'm going to leave some links in the description. But otherwise, that's a good for me. Have a good day.